Welcome to Microsoft Community Insight Podcast, where we share insights and stories from community experts. Today, we will dive into MCP apps and app service with our guest, Jordan Slay. Could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you for having me today. My name is Jordan Selig. I'm a product manager with Azure App Service. I've been on the team for 5 years now. I just hit my anniversary last month, so big exciting accomplishment. I'm getting my crystal in the mail in a couple months, I think. Um, I started on the team 5 years ago. I previously worked at a large bank for 4 years, so I had experience working with large enterprise customers and what that demanded. I was in the cloud security space, and that's what really introduced me to the cloud. It was time for a change, so I moved over to Microsoft and App Service. I was building a lot of apps in my free time. On services like Google Firebase and AWS Amplify. And I wanted to support a product that allowed people like me to build and share my ideas with others. So got a role on App Service, and I work on a number of different product areas. Our networking, App Service environments are a single tenant offering. I was leading all of our App Service CLI efforts, but that's kind of been delegated across different teams now. I lead Azure policy, so security and governance for App Service. And more recently, the last about year and a half or so, I've been the lead for basically all of the AI investments for App Service. So my goal and my mission that I was told to achieve was to make App Service a premier platform for AI and agentic workloads. So that's really what I've been working on the last year and a half, and I continue to work on that, and I have a lot of features in the roadmap that I'm hoping to land in the next few months.
So instead of like customers always go to Kubernetes, they can choose between go to container apps or app service. As a way you're making it more like agentic, whether it's putting MCP for capabilities as well.
Right. So if you're looking for a full-fledged managed service, a platform as a service PaaS offering, you're looking at app service, Azure Container Apps, functions. These are the services on Azure that manage all of the operational work that you would typically have to do if you were running your apps off of a VM. And AKS is like a semi PaaS, just because you still need to do all the Kubernetes work. So ACA is the option if you want to completely abstract all that Kubernetes details. So we're trying to make app service, at least personally, that's my goal. My partner teams on apps on Azure Container Apps are doing all the AI work for them. I'm the person responsible for app service. So building out new features and building out samples and demos just to show like, hey, you could do all of these agentic and AI workloads on app service.
Okay. So what's currently new on MCP apps at the moment?
So on app service, if you saw some of our build announcements a couple weeks ago, we released a new feature called built-in MCP. And this is a really cool feature because it aligns with this overall work stream that I've created called Easy AI, which is basically taking your existing workloads on app service and adding agents, some sort of AI functionality to them. App service has been around for a long time, 10, 15 years. We have tons and tons of workloads already on here, a lot of workloads that were deployed 10, 15 years ago, and modernizing those to enable AI and agents, re-architecting those is a huge task for some of these larger companies, larger enterprises. So one of my work streams is, how do we take these existing potentially legacy apps where the current operations teams that manage these apps maybe don't even know what the code does. They don't even know where the code is. In some cases, we have some customers like that. So how do we allow them to enable AI in these apps while at the same time they're probably re-architecting, they're probably innovating somewhere, but if they want to quickly get AI agents into their work, how do we do that for them? So the first feature was this built-in MCP feature, and it's live. It's in the portal today. We announced it at Build a couple weeks ago. And what it is If your app has an API service, so if it has an API that can be defined with an open API spec, you give us that spec, and then we will host an MCP server on your app service and expose all of those operations, those API operations, as MCP tools. So without any code changes, without any changes to your app, you now have an MCP server that allows agents to connect to your app and interact with your app, following all the same networking and authentication protocols that you have already potentially implemented in your app already. So it's a really cool feature. It's really easy to use. And I do have a demo of it a little later on if we want to go into that.
Could you like call it from like Azure Skills? You know, the new things called Azure Skills. Could you call that new MCP apps from it? If you call
Sure, yeah. So what this feature does is it literally just creates an MCP server. So you tell us the endpoint that you want to use for this, and it's just an MCP server. So you can call that with any agent, any client that wants to call an MCP server. It's open to using this. So no difference. We just make it really easy to create this. You don't have to build it from scratch.
Okay, and it would just host in there. Does it? I take it. You just need the endpoint to recall it. Yeah.
The endpoint, and if there's any authentication on the app service, you'll have to account for that in your client. But there's nothing proprietary or special here. It's just we have implemented the the latest from the MCP standards and made it available and easy for our customers to use.
Okay. Yeah. You can show us some demos. You say got some demos. Yes. How about see it in action?
Yeah. So let me just get my monitors here. I'll set up. I'll put you here, and I will present this. Let's get this screen.
So you're constantly building now towards the MCP apps. What's after MCP apps is just adding new AI features within service.
Yeah, so I'll get a little bit into that, and I think it'll be more clear when I show you some of the work we're doing inside the Azure portal.
Yeah.
So I'll make this a little bigger so it's a little easier to see. Okay. So this is an app that we built for Microsoft Build a couple weeks ago. I'll show you what that is really quickly. It's just an online clothing store. It's something we use for a lot of demos just because it can demonstrate a lot of the features that we have been building. One of the things that we actually did with this app, and I don't know if you've heard of the managed instance on app service feature. Are you familiar with that?
Managed instance? No, I've seen the managed identity thing, but no.
So managed instance, and I'm not going to spend too much time on it today just because I'm not the expert and it's not really AI focused. But some of my teammates are working on this, and if you're interested in learning more about managed instance, I can connect you and send you some details about that. But managed instance is a way of, if you've had these applications hosted on-prem that you haven't migrated to the cloud yet because of the amount of work it would take, because you need certain controls that the cloud or app service doesn't let you control traditionally. Managed instance allows you to have that OS level control for your apps. So it's a really cool feature. It's going to help a lot of customers migrate these applications that they just haven't migrated yet, and migrate them quickly. So
okay, so it's typically for legacy application,
typically for legacy applications, but it can also be used for newer applications that need more control than, somewhere in between what app service gives today and a VM where you have to control, everything. So like I said, I can definitely share more details about that. I don't claim to be an expert about that, but it's a really cool feature, and a lot of our customers have expressed interest in it because migrating takes a long time. It requires a lot of changes to your apps to be cloud ready, and this feature is something that will help a lot of customers get to the cloud quickly.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Cool.
So I'm just going to give you some scope to what this demo was. So this was an app that we migrated to app service using the managed instance feature. So this is a managed instance app service.
Yeah.
And it looks just like a standard app service in the portal. There's not really much here that will indicate that it's different, but it is a managed instance. So that was the first part of this demo. It was saying, here's how you take this old legacy app and bring it to the cloud. The next part was, this was an online shopping store. So you have like, how do I want to buy some of these items. I want to add them to my cart. I want to remove them from my cart. So, the APIs that are backing this are just the traditional APIs that you would see in an online shopping store. So what we wanted to do is enable the built-in MCP feature. So we have this new blade in the Azure portal. It's called AI and has preview in there because we just released it, and we'll remove that soon. But this is what we'll be building out over the next few months as we start releasing more of these AI features. So the first tab here is this MCP servers tab, and this is where you enable the built-in MCP feature. So it's as simple as, and I've already done it just in the interest of time, even though it only takes a minute. All you do is upload the OpenAPI spec and then provide, let's see if I can show you some of this. You just provide details like the endpoint, if you want to add a description, and then here's where you provide any of the auth details. So it's super simple. It just takes a minute.
Yeah.
And
Can you using VS Code as well? The new AI features?
You can do this with API.
Yeah.
We don't have dedicated CLI commands, but there's probably a way to hook it up with the CLI.
Okay.
So ARM, API, CLI. So if you're in VS Code, there's plenty of options. We are working on releasing, and we've already done a bunch, but we're continually iterating with the Azure skills. So we are continuously contributing to that to make sure that the Azure skills always have the latest information about app service and what we as the product group recommends. So this, if it's not already in there, will be in there soon, just to say like, if you want to enable this, here's how to do it.
Because I think I can probably do this in Bicep, right? Because I think it will be out already. Because it's built in-house.
For sure. So anyway, this is now an MCP server. You can see the endpoint right here.
Yeah.
And I can connect to this through whatever client I want to connect to it, from. So very simple. So that was the first part of this demo. It was showing, how do you take an old app and then now just add some sort of capability that allows agents to easily connect to it. And that was this feature. Now, the next part of this demo, which I did not go into too much detail for build, was the second part here.
I'm curious to know, are you allowed to add custom tools, or is just predefined tools that's already selected that you have to select from the application?
So these tools are the same tools or the same operations from your API. So it literally just takes your API, it maps each operation and creates a tool for that. So this specific OpenAPI spec, and I'll make more sense in a minute. I built some automation around the inventory management for this online store. So you'll see things like, get the inventory, get product, check stock, update stock. So that's what these tools are. So,
Okay. Nice.
Okay. So the next part is this agents tab. So that'll make more sense when I show you the next part of the demo. So for this demo, we wanted to show, we added MCP. So now how do we add some agentic process into this app without actually changing the app code? So we thought, can we use agents to manage the inventory for this online shopping store? So, or you want to say something?
Yeah. So would the agent just be having that be like constantly run, or do you need him in the loop to like?
So yeah, that's a great question. That's completely up to you. But for the purposes of this demo, I built an agent hosted on App Service. But this agent could be anything. It could be a managed agent. It could be some sort of custom agent. Anything you want that can consume the MCP endpoint that you created.
Okay.
So for the purposes of this demo, and this is just a demo. So I built. I actually have a little bit of a slideshow that has an architecture diagram.
Okay.
see. Okay, so the box on the right is the existing app. It's just, our legacy app. It's got our MCP server.
Yeah.
And on the left side, this is the agentic app that I built. It's using Microsoft Agent Framework, and it has 6 agents running on App Service. So these are hosted agents on App Service, and they connect to Microsoft Foundry for the LLM. And the 6 agents that I built were one that monitors inventory. So it's just checking the stock levels of the different items in the store. It's using MCP to do this. And then I have a bunch of other agents that simulate ordering stock and fulfilling those orders and then updating the inventory with MCP again. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes here. This is pure Microsoft Agent Framework. You can see for the agents that use the MCP server to check inventory, it's just as simple as adding an endpoint and then using the framework to build these agents. It's super simple.
Okay, and you can call any agent in Azure. You can call Foundry agent. You can call SharePoint agent, different agents, even Copilot as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So the agents for this demo are all agents hosted on App Service. But if I wanted to use a Copilot agent, if I wanted to use some sort of SaaS product that uses, MCP to, get information, I could do that. The purpose of this demo was using an App Service agent, just to show that you can host agents on App Service. It's very easy. We support Microsoft Agent Framework as well as all the other traditional and common frameworks that people are using these days.
I take it you define the agent same as you define it in Foundry, like in Python and JavaScript. Okay.
Exactly. I'm just using Microsoft Agent Framework. It's platform agnostic, so it doesn't care that I'm running on App Service. It's just like 5 or 6 lines of code to define an agent. It's super simple. If you haven't seen Microsoft Agent Framework, check it out. It runs really well on App Service. I have a bunch of demos showing how to do this exact scenario that I'm showing today.
Okay.
So before we get back to the demo, the other piece that I'm going to call out is observability. Monitoring your agents is also something that is just becoming more and more important as people start using more and more agents. And doing that on App Service is also very simple. If you enable OpenTelemetry and configure the Gen AI semantics, so this is very straightforward. As you can see, it's like 6 lines of code. Connect your app to App Insights and enable OpenTelemetry. And the Gen AI semantics are just like the agent name, the agent ID. So very simple. We will be able to provide a level of monitoring and observability for your agents that previously you would have to custom build somewhere. So I'll show you all this.
How about tracing the agent, like if a prompt and everything?
Yeah, so I'll
telemetry as well, the logs?
Yeah, so if you add this to your code for your agents on App Service, we have a built-in process for showing all that. So I will show you that in just a minute as I take you through the next part of the demo. So this right here is another app on App Service. I'll take you into the environment variables just so you can see that it is connected to the MCP server. This is that the store app that I was showing you.
An App Service. So you can't really see the agent, but it's just hosting App Service behind on the back end.
Right. So in reality, when you're running agents, you don't actually see the agents working. You just see the output. So behind the scenes, this is a very complicated process with 6 different agents doing a lot of different things. But from like an end user perspective, an operator of a tool like this, they don't know how to use agents. Typically, that's for the IT teams. The operations teams just want a tool that works.
Yeah, that's true.
So this right here is the inventory for the app that we were just looking at. I'm just going to go ahead and simulate a sale just so we can see one of these items go out of stock. I have a script on the side here that will just simulate a sale. So I'm going to let that run for a second. And it's going to randomly pick an item and a size to go out of stock. It's thinking. Okay, there we go. So I'll just refresh the page so you can see.
Oh, you're
Okay.
gonna buy. Oh, okay.
So yeah, so it picked the size medium of this, this navy blazer. So this is one of the items in the store, and it decided to sell out. So in reality, this should be automated, and the agent should be polling and checking to see when things go out of stock. For demo purposes, I have a button here. I have a button here that just says to trigger that process. So I'm going to let this start, and what it's doing is it's running all of our 6 agents here. So it's checking inventory. It's using MCP again to see what happened. There's another agent that is connected to historical sales data. So I have just a blob in Azure Storage that has all this historical sales data. So it's using that to say how much stock should we reorder. So this is another intelligent agent that's using reasoning to decide what our order should look like. And you can see we paused right here at our reorder recommendation. It's recommending that I order 20 units of this particular item because of the historical sales data. See, it's giving us some explanation here for what we need. And it's also saying, June is not peak season for a thick navy blazer, but here's what I think you should get. So, it's a smart process. I'm going to approve this just so we can move forward. So now it's just running, like a simulated order and then fulfillment of that order. And then it went ahead and updated our inventory. So if we go back up here, you can see that our blazer now has 20 items in stock. So really simple process. We took our app, our legacy app, and now we've added this automation to it without modifying that existing app at all to manage our inventory. And when it comes to tracing and observability, like you asked, if we go back to our AI blade and we go over to agents, we have this new view. And this view has all 6 of the agents that just ran, and it shows you all the calls, all the tokens that they were using, if there were any errors. And then you could even go into App Insights. So I'll just start with this one and get even deeper into each of those agent calls, view all the traces, and explore anything you need to with these different agents. So we've made it really easy to enable this feature and get this visibility for any agentic app that you host on App Service.
Okay. Yeah, it's quite easy. You see, you can find like the logs of it, see if there's any error rates and stuff.
Yeah, this is showing 24 hours, but if I move it back, like 60 days, you can see a lot more activity. You view additional traces. So, I mean, this is all features in App Insights. So if you're familiar with App Insights, there's a ton you could do here. And we've just made it really easy to set this up and get started with this. We want to encourage people to start hosting more of their agents on App Service. So hopefully a feature like this encourages that.
Okay. What was that session that you say you did at Bill, so people can have a listen to it if it's still recorded?
So we did a session. It is recorded. I will share a link with you so that you can share in the details of the session. Highly recommend watching that. It'll go into more details about App Service Managed Instance. That was the primary focus of that session. But at the end, we did do a talk about this MCP feature, this agent feature, just to give people some context to what that was. So I will share more details with you, and definitely check that one out.
Okay. So are you typically seeing more customers using these features, MCP apps, like billing agents within App Service?
Yeah, we've had a lot of customers expressed interest in building MCP servers, deploying MCP servers on App Service, as well as some of our partner platforms like Azure Functions and Azure Container Apps and AKS. Choosing between those services, is always a challenge for customers. It's like, what's the best place for my situation? So to give some, I know we have some docs around helping you choose, but for MCP servers specifically, to give you some more, to help you choose for App Service, we are a platform that allows you to, host your server and then scale that server to a very broad and large audience with minimal work. You can enable our always on feature, and your MCP server will be ready to go for whenever it's needed. And then, you can have auto scaling configured so it can scale, to as many customers that need it. Functions, on the other hand, it's another great place to host MCP servers. It has a bunch of new features that I highly recommend checking out for this. But if you're looking for that large, broad audience to use your single MCP server over like remote connections, it's not really the best choice. App Service is probably better for that. If you're looking for like a single personal tool, Functions is probably better. And there's other use cases for Functions as well. I'm not going into great detail about that. But I highly recommend, evaluating each of these services to determine, which one is the best fit for you. If you're familiar with App Service, if you know about App Services, auto scaling capabilities, security functionality, MCP servers on App Service inherit all of that. So you're getting the same, SLA, performance, durability that you would be getting with, your traditional App Service now on MCP servers with, no significant changes.
Yeah. I'm curious to know, that module you just deployed, the GPT 4.0 that's on the screen, is that OpenAI module or Foundry module? How is that token used?
So this app is connected to Azure OpenAI.
Okay.
The way Azure OpenAI works with Azure now is it's basically just another Foundry resource. Foundry and Azure OpenAI resources are basically the same thing. They're like Microsoft Cognitive Services resource provider, I think. So they're basically the same thing. I could have gone to Foundry and deployed any model I wanted. I picked a small, cheap one just because I didn't need an expensive one for this kind of process. But that's all external from App Service. Like you can use whatever model you want, if you're willing to pay for it.
So in terms of cost, does this goes into App Service charges or the OpenAI charges? Azure OpenAI, where the model is hosted?
The tokens are going to still cost hit your Azure OpenAI billing. Your App Service billing really shouldn't. It actually probably won't be impacted with an application like this because App Service, you pay for your App Service plan, and that's a flat fee for the month. So if you have, our premium V4 tier, what is that, like $70 a month for for an instance or something, that's all it's going to be for the month. Unless you scale it up, add more instances, then your price is going to change. But App Service gives you very consistent billing, unlike something like Functions where that can scale all the way to zero. You only pay when you're using it, so that pricing will be a little bit, it'll be variable, so you won't be able to predict it as much. But that could be a benefit if you don't have a lot of usage one month. App Service, you're always going to be paying an amount, and you can always predict that.
You get most of the cost from the App Service because you pay for what you use for that month.
Right.
Okay. So in terms of like App Service, MCP apps, is there a lot going on in the roadmap towards like improving it, making it better?
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, one of my focuses is this easy AI work stream. So we are working towards making features like this MCP feature, where you can enable AI functionality with minimal changes to your app. So App Service as a platform is able to host really like any AI agentic workload already. There's really nothing special that we need to change on our side. There is one thing regarding like our default timeouts that make long-running agents difficult to manage on App Service. So I am working with the team internally to extend our timeouts just so agents can run more long-running processes without timing out. So that's one small fix that hopefully will help users that have faced that issue resolve that. But in terms of new features, we want to make AI more accessible. We want to make RAG, adding agents, converting your web apps to Markdown so agents consume less tokens when they read your app. Features like this are what we are working on right now and hopefully can release a little later this year. All features that allow you to add AI to your apps without really changing the code or what your apps do already. So hopefully that means that a lot of users will be able to enable these without excessive testing and process that may be involved when onboarding new new services and new features, which I know a lot of our larger enterprise customers have to go through. And it's not an easy process. So we're trying to make this as easy as possible for everyone. With AI, things are changing so quickly and things are coming out so quickly that you need to adapt fast to keep up.
Yeah. It's so I take it you can where can people like is there any other like learning path or modules that people can go to learn more about the MCP apps? Like whether it's through the learn modules or tech
Yes,
community?
we have tutorials on our Microsoft Learn Docs.
Yeah.
We are constantly updating those. We're now implementing some, agentic processes to keep those updated just because things are moving so fast. Also, as I mentioned, keep an eye on and keep updating the Azure skills that your agents are using. There's like a prepackaged Azure skill, app service as well as all of the other services across Azure are constantly contributing to that and iterating. And that's going to give you, when you ask your agent in VS Code or wherever you're interacting with your coding agents, that's going to give you the latest information about how to use certain features, how to apply certain features, and recommendations for what features to use. So definitely keep that updated and keep talking to that, because that's one of your best sources that's coming directly from the product group.
Okay. I take it currently this feature is only support agent framework. Is there any plan? Maybe you don't have to say to support like maybe LangChain or different framework, or is it just agent framework?
So this agents feature supports any framework as long
Okay.
as you enable open telemetry and the Gen AI semantics. So I also just released another doc about that, and that's another link that we can share after this about how to enable this kind of functionality in your app. So it's framework agnostic and platform agnostic. Great feature.
Okay, brilliant. So thanks a lot for joining this episode, Jordan. So hope everyone learned about how amazing the MCP app is. So I'm gonna play around with it. It's a new tool, so I'm gonna tell my team colleagues. So it's amazing because I know there's two now. There is Cosmos DB, there is Function App, there is some in Logic App. So it's everywhere they're building AI in Azure. So
Things are changing every day. It's hard to keep up. So do your
there's
best.
AI in Kubernetes as well. So everything in the
Yep.
port is different. Okay. Any last minute advice that you want to give to someone that haven't used it before, or customer that want to try on, or
Putting me on the spot. Personally, for me, like, it is overwhelming keeping up with all of the news and the features that are coming out. So, like, whenever you see something, think how you can apply that to your day to day, and that's what I do. I'm like, I see a new feature, someone posts on LinkedIn about something they're working on. I'm like, how can I leverage that for my work? Always be curious about what's coming out, what's available. You know, see what works for you. There's just so much out there, and eventually this will all calm down, and we'll figure out what's actually the best process, what's the best thing. For now, just explore, be open to trying things, learning things. I spend many hours a week, as my full-time job, just playing around with new features and seeing how can they apply to app service, how can they apply to my day-to-day to make my day easier, faster, quicker. So yeah, just be open and explore.
brilliant. So as it's good to keep fit, healthy. Okay.
Yep.
No worries. Thanks a lot for joining this episode, Jordan. Thank you.